making sure that no matter how difficult the situation is that you do find the silver lining, in the cloud, or the light at the end of the tunnel. Because no matter how bad you think it is, there is truly always a silver lining.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Eternal Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Matt Drinkon, and today we have yet another special treat. I've been chatting it away for the last little bit of time with my guest for today. And when I say guest, this is going to be a special interview today for a few reasons. One, my guest is Mr. Clifford Blanquicet. Blanquicet is how you might say it in the South. Blanquicet. Blanquicet is how I tried to pronounce it, and I butchered. That's not how you say it nowadays. In the South, Clifford Blanquicet Jr. Is on the show today, and he's referred to me by Mr. Rich Moyer, who you remember from Hoppin' Brands, who we had a great conversation about his family and business, and he was just having a baby last time we spoke. So this is his friend Clifford. Clifford and I have been jamming for a while. Get ready for an amazing conversation, because we've been having fun talking about real life stuff, and I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining and it's going to be real. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome to the show Clifford Blanquicet Jr. Clifford, how are you today, my friend?
Doing great, man. Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's honor and pleasure is all mine. So I'm so glad you're here. And I'm curious about something right away. You said doing great today. Is that your standard response when someone asks you how you're doing? Or just, because for me, when someone asks how you're doing, I literally don't want to just say good. How are you? Good. I don't want that. I would rather, kind of dive in and figure out, you said you're doing great today. Well, why are you doing great today, Clifford?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all perspective, a lot of perspective. I'm above ground. I'm healthy. I'm not in the hospital. I've got a wonderful wife that loves me, 5 wonderful kids that love me. It's great because of that. My wife made me some homemade coffee. So I'm already winning as soon as I woke up. And I'm here. I have a chance to share some things about, my life and about life in general. And I mean, the opportunity to do that with anybody is a special thing. So I don't know. I feel great.
Awesome. Well, great answer. And I'm very envious. Your wife made you some homemade coffee. What kind of coffee is it you're drinking right now? What is that?
It is so freaking good. Iced coffee. It's got some chocolate in there and vanilla. It's a latte. It's got espresso, and it is just she makes the best coffee. In fact, we've got an enclosed trailer that she wants to turn into like a coffee food truck that we started working on and go to like some events because it's just that good. And I'm like, you should do it, baby.
Gosh.
You should do it.
I cannot believe you're saying this. Maybe it's a divine intervention or coincidence. I don't know. My wife and I were talking. One of her dreams is to get an Airstream and go do a mobile coffee shop, and maybe even go buy a coffee shop. And she's got all the design for it. She's an artist, entrepreneur. So that's kind of one of her dreams too. And so to hear you say that, I'm thinking of the giant coffee book of all the beans from around the world, and down the coffee rabbit hole we go. So hold on, let me get my fishing rod and fish us out. So there are a few things I want to share about Clifford. Dude, Clifford is super successful business. He's a humble human being, but he's super successful business. He's got multiple businesses. Corporate real estate is something he's great at. Let's just give us a little bit of make a minute or two, a few bullet points for context. You said you have a wife. She made coffee this morning. You have a father of 5. What are any other things that we might need to know before we dive into our main question to start? Just any other thing for context, please.
Yeah. I'm a man of God. I'm a Christian, have been for a very long time. And I do believe that I'm blessed because of him. So I'd like to say that. I used to be a competitive golfer like yourself. And the golf is still a big part of my life in business and in health and mental health. And I miss it and love it. And I know you do too. But I do utilize it for those reasons. And then, like I said, I've been married 10 wonderful years in December to my awesome teammate and my awesome wife. And, we have 5 beautiful kids. And they're wonderful and smart and healthy. my youngest one has some health issues, but she's doing so much better than we ever thought she would. But so we're feeling blessed with that. And yeah, I love helping other people. I love sharing things that may help. I love getting involved. And I love this life. But yeah, those are the main things about me that I'd love for people to know. And I really, truly feel that positivity is a big secret to life, and try to stay positive in every aspect, even though, we were talking earlier, we hit road bumps, so it can get bumpy.
Yeah.
But no, try to stay positive. So like people say that I'm a positive guy and uplifting and upbeat. And yeah, so that's what I'd like people to know about me mostly.
Awesome. Awesome. If anyone listening out there, if you're already sensing, that Clifford has a high threshold for overcoming challenge, we're going to dive into how he got that way and how his mindset developed, his life has gone. But when he says that, he's had some challenges with health of one of his children, and the next thing out of his mouth is that we're blessed. To me that speaks volumes itself, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. Let's dive down the rabbit hole, my friend, and let's go to the question I like to ask everyone to start. Clifford, if you look back in your life, what's the most challenging thing that you can share that you've had to endure or overcome?
Yeah. And I read that question in your email and gave it a lot of thought. And um, I really do appreciate you asking. It's a great question. Biggest thing is between the ages of 3 and 10, I had a very, very bad childhood. My dad
Okay.
left when I was 3, and I have not seen him since. He is alive, but just doesn't want to be highly involved or involved at all. So he hasn't seen me or, my kids. So that's difficult. That was difficult. That is difficult. And then my
Yeah.
mom, after that, became a very abusive alcoholic and drug addict. And I lived with her from the age of 3 to 10, and she was very abusive. I mean, locked me in my room for hours and sometimes days, and malnutrition, bad living situations, and then of course the physical abuse was really bad. So I hid it for years, and I really was in love with my abuser. And it was a tough thing. And then at the age of 10, I just had enough, and I went and asked my grandmother if I could move in with her, and she said yes. And I really kudos to her and my grandfather for taking me in at the age of 10. And my mom never asked me to come back. So it's like, whew, that was
Yeah.
rough. But I will say that when I was 18, 19, 20, I was in therapy because of it.
Okay.
And I was, I'm glad I didn't listen to my ego. And I actually went to therapy, and I took it very serious for 2.5 years. And my therapist, Bob Peterson, he helped me overcome some of the trauma that I had faced as a kid, and allow me to be the person I am today. Because without that therapy, I don't think I would be anything like I am today in a very negative way at all. Yeah, so that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing I had to overcome. Um, I lived in Section 8 housing for many years, and was around kids who were just abusive. And our when I was a kid, my hobby was to fight. We were
Okay.
so bored and we had nothing to do that we literally fought for hours. Um,
Huh.
and that you know Now I have 5 kids, and I couldn't imagine them living in Section 8. I couldn't imagine them living with cockroaches. I couldn't imagine them getting beaten by anybody or in a fight every day with other kids, younger, older than them. And so I'm
Okay.
proud that I gave them, I'm giving them a lifestyle that I really, they deserve, versus one that, I had to grow up with. But no, I'll say that, my relationship with God helped me through this. I became a Christian when I was 10, and he's been with me the whole time.
Okay.
Therapy, and then I started playing competitive golf at the age of 10. So those things combined, and moving in with my grandmother, I feel like I've just been on a rocket ship ever since I was 10 years old, and just living the best life. But
Yeah.
I paid my dues early from 3 to 10.
So 3 to 10
Yep.
was incredibly challenging. There was abuse, there was neglect, there was malnutrition, there was a constant environment of alcohol, of some kind of drugs, and when you were bored, in the situation you were in, there'd be fights uh, consistently. So sounds very challenging. And then at ten, you moved to grandma. Did your grandma and grandfather, did they introduce you to Christ, or did you have the wherewithal yourself to start? I need to find something different. Like, how did you find your faith at the age of 10 when a lot of kids are still figuring out, what their trapper keeper is going to look like? If that's even a thing anymore, by the way. I may have just dated myself with trapper keeper. But yeah, so how did you find your faith at 10? And yeah, start with there, please.
Yeah, my grandparents took me to the church, and so yeah, they took me to church a lot of Sunday. They went pretty much every Sunday, and they would take me with them. And that,
Okay.
I move in with them, and then I start going to church. And at the age of 10, I was a very mature 10-year-old because I had to be. And
Yeah.
it really just made sense at the age of 10 that, I'm here for a reason. And like, I don't, the only thing that makes sense in my mind that why I'm here is because something greater created me and there's a purpose. That's the only thing that makes sense. And so after a few months of church, uh, I got saved, and it was from them taking me to church.
Wow. Wow. It's just something about being 10 years old and having to grow up so much faster than what I would say many others might do. I mean, there's a lot of people that have to grow up young, but you're one of the few I've had on the show that has shared such tremendous challenge at a young age. So I'm curious,
Yeah,
at any point in that journey from 3 to 10, uh, did that lifestyle just seem like this is the way it's supposed to be, and this is the way I'm supposed to fight? This is my life forever.
yeah,
I How did you have the wherewithal to even approach your grandparents to try to make a change? Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back that made you make
yeah,
that call or write that letter or whatever that?
yeah. I have a brother. He's a half brother, same mom, different dads. He's 5 years older, and I was hanging out with him a lot because his dad was a real straight and narrow, good guy, and
Okay.
really, really spoiled him. And my dad's gone, and so
Yeah.
but my brother would flock to my mom, this abusive alcoholic drug addict, when he started being like maybe 12. And it was because she was allowing him to do drugs and alcohol
Wow.
and,
At
hang out with
12.
girls at 12,
Wow.
hang out with,
Okay.
but, man, it was culture, like as soon as you understood, what drinking and drugs were, that's what people did. I mean, because you're bored and there's nothing to keep your brain active. So you go to bad things because you're surrounded by it. And so he was drinking, he was doing drugs. He, was a little older, started getting into hard drugs. And my mom, was always doing hard drugs. And then there was always like, I mean, at the age of like 5 or 6, I was watching rated R movies. And then at the age of like 8, I was watching X-rated movies, and because that's all there was around. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. They didn't care that the kid was there. And so I never drank alcohol, I never done drugs, and I'm 10 years old, and I'm looking at their lives. And my mom was so sickly and just mean and nasty. And then I started noticing my brother was becoming the same way. And and doing awful things. And I just remember at 10 being like, I mean, if I hang around here, I'm about that age, where I'm either going to start doing that stuff because that's just what I'm around every single minute of every single day,
Yeah.
or I need to make a change. And I hid from my grandmother that I was being abused and all that was going on because, I love my mom and I wanted to protect her. And then it just clicked one day. Like, she is not
Wow.
protecting me and does not care about me. So my grandmother always has. So I need to tell her. So I go to her house and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I've been beaten, abused, and my mom does this and that. My brother's doing this and that. And she just goes, yeah, I had a feeling, but I can never get it out of you. And, if you want to live here, you can. But at the age of 10, I had to make a decision, like, do I want to go that path or this path? And, I just said, man, I don't ever want to be like those people.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for diving in and sharing that with us, Clifford. I think it's inspiring to hear someone who has seen the depths of challenge in an impoverished place, where the place where you're supposed to feel love and get love, and you didn't get that, and then to have the courage to go and talk to grandparents. So between 10 and 18, you found a faith. You found what sounds like some form of love with grandparents that you love. And then between 18, 19, 20, you mentioned that you started some type of therapy with Dr. Bob Peterson. And I'm curious about that because therapy, and I'm 47, just to give you an idea, therapy, when I was growing up, was a stigmatized word. It was something that men don't do. And to hear you openly share it, first of all, again, kudos, my friend, for the courage to share and be transparent and vulnerable, right? 18, 19, 20, you were in therapy. So how did you come to the conclusion that therapy was the place to come? Walk us through how that came to be, please.
Yeah. So, started playing competitive golf at 10 and was really, really good from 10 to 15, the age 10 to 15. And then when I hit 15, 16, 17, I started playing awful. And all these things were coming back to me about my childhood, and all these things were, this anxiety was just filling my life. And it cost me, instead of playing Division 1 golf, I played Division 2. And instead of being state champ, I just couldn't get it together. I mean, all these things I felt like I was destined to do were falling apart. And I just remember my coaches all saying, and it ties back to golf, honestly, your swing is amazing, your stroke's amazing, everything about your physical game's amazing, and you seem okay on the outside, but your game is showing that you're shaky. Like there's something going on that you just can't keep it together for 18 holes. And
Yeah.
I mean bad. I mean, it's like someone who looks like they shot 68 and I would shoot 80 every round, every single round. And they were like, yeah, if the mental part of your game is not good, you really, need to do something about it. And, I started talking to some friends and like, yeah, y'all just don't know how bad my childhood was. And luckily, I had a friend who said, well, there's no shame in, therapy. And sounds like you really need it, So it was basically just being a little vulnerable and then someone giving great advice and then me jumping right on it and saying, but to be frank, if I didn't have golf, I probably would have went years and years and years more of just drowning. And I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people do. But I wanted to be the best golfer in the world.
Yeah.
And it's proven that my mind was holding me back, or my emotions or whatever. And so I thought, oh, I have to do this. Like, I have to be good at golf again.
Yes.
So that's what it was.
I'm with you. I'm with you in a different loop in life. My fabric and yours are similar in that I wanted to be the best golfer in the world at one point, and I sought out a sport. I would call him a sports psychologist back in the day, someone like AKA a Bob Rotella like person, and call it therapy, call it psychology, call it what it is. It was the inner game. Just
Right.
we come from a little bit different background, where I didn't have to overcome that type of abuse and trauma from 3 to 10. So again, respect for you for talking to a man right now who's found faith, successful in his career. We haven't talked about your career yet, and you're a humble man, so you may not go into the how successful you've been in your career, but you've done pretty well, especially considering the place we started. So I'm curious if you take us into your adult years. I don't mean when you were a young adult at 10. I mean when you started to become, let's just say 20, 21, in that range. What happened in that next area of your life? Because I think you're about to meet your wife and you're about to do some pretty amazing things. So, walk us into the next few years, starting around 20 or so.
Yeah. So yeah, I ended up transferring. My game started getting better after therapy, and I transferred to Wingate University, just outside Charlotte, and played a
Sure.
couple of years for them, and graduated from Wingate. Proud to say with a bachelor's degree, which I never thought I would get. It did take me 5.5 years, but that's my own fault.
Are you
And
a doctor?
no, no,
Hello?
no,
I
no,
was just thinking
no,
about Tommy Boy. A lot of people go to school for like 5 years. They're called doctors. I'm just kidding. No, no,
dude.
I hear you,
I'm
man.
telling you, it was not that. No
Huh.
way. But went my senior year had the best team, like just great guys. And we won a bunch of tournaments. We had fun, and
Nice.
then played professional golf for about a year and a half, like you. And great experience. Went and raised funds from people I didn't know, and went and ran a business basically and tried to be a good golfer, and it was awesome. So those things really shaped a lot. But what really did it was as soon as I got done playing pro golf, I got into commercial real estate, and within the first few couple months of being in commercial real estate, I met my wife, and she is an entrepreneur through and through, and she's had high-end hair salons and other businesses, and then she was opening a clothing boutique in downtown Concord, and I leased her space, and I was also the property manager for that property.
Nice.
Um, and I see this. I had been in a long-term relationship, and so was she, and I just saw this woman in there at 10 o'clock at night painting walls and being there at 6 in the morning doing cleaning floors and setting up racks and clothing racks, and she was just grinding, and I just was so inspired by her work ethic, and then I got to talking to her, and her goals were just amazing, and her mindset, and we both realized really quickly that the people we were dating were not that driven and didn't, and we're not looking for a huge purpose in life that fast. Maybe, in their late 20s, early 30s, or 30s, they'd be open to kids or open to marriage and things like that. Um, and we were just not looking for that. And so we were looking for a teammate who wanted to kind of kickstart life like now. She was a college cheerleader, and she'd been there and done that, and I'd been there and done that with many things, and we thought we're just ready to build something. And you won't believe this, but within 5 weeks of meeting each other, we both broke up with our significant others, and within 5 weeks of meeting each other, I asked her to marry me.
Woo! Wow. Awesome.
Yep.
Wow. Man.
And we got married a few months later. And we have not looked back since. 10 years. I mean, it's just been the most amazing marriage and best teammate. And she's just the most wonderful woman. And that really, meeting her and marrying her name's Anna, is literally just the best thing that ever happened for her and I. And we have just been great teammates ever since and great business partners ever since. She has an amazing way of having a 40,000-foot view all the time. And I'm really in the trenches, like a step by step. And she really can see the big picture. And so I'm very, very much so an implementer, and she's very much so the visionary. And so we work really well together because of the different strengths. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's really that early 21 to 25. That's what happened. We get married quick, and we go on a great honeymoon. And on the honeymoon, she got pregnant. And 7 weeks after the honeymoon, she has an ectopic pregnancy,
Oh,
and one of her dude, it was awful. One of her fallopian tubes ruptured. She was bleeding internally, went to the hospital emergency surgery, and they removed the tube and saved her life. But she was a couple hours from bleeding out internally. Um, and I looked at her and I said, I mean, this has been a crazy ride, since July. Honestly, if you don't want to be married to me anymore, I get it. This is crazy. Like, honestly, like, this is just bizarre. And she was like, no, 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 you're good. We're good. And the
wow.
same calendar year, we had Callie, my oldest daughter. And then 11 months later, we had Mika. And then 11 months later, we had Merrick. And dude, it just solidified everything. Like, we're meant to be together. We're meant to, bring little people into the world and try to make the world a better place with them and being good people. And, but yeah, man, that was a journey. that was a really crazy journey.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So just pause for 1 second. So we were talking about this before we got on camera. We were talking about our threshold for being able to be in challenges and overcome challenges. And everything that you endured and learned to overcome before you met Anna, a lot of those things were out of your control, and you learned how to work through that. And even with the therapy and psychologically, kind of worked on your game. You found faith, all of that. And then as soon as you get married, after 5 weeks, as soon as you get married, you go on your honeymoon and then find this out within like 7 weeks later. Was it 7 weeks later, ectopic pregnancy? How did that hit you to have to do that and be there for her? How did that hit you, and how did it hit your marriage when you had that challenge come up after 7 weeks?
Yeah, I remember the surgery was 5 hours, and I remember just pacing back and forth. And I really thought one was like, I mean, God's got her. Like, there's no way, God always said he's not going to give us something we can't handle. And I was
Yeah.
like, Lord, I can handle a lot. Like, I can, but please don't do this. And, I prayed and thought to God, like, please don't let her die. Please don't let anything happen, because this is my soulmate. So I relied on God, number one, and the whole time praying the whole 5 hours, and they come out and they're like, hey man, she's good. It went great. She's good. And, so I would say that relying on God, is number one. Two, we both have went through massive trauma in our lives, and our trauma response and our trauma, everything is very similar. And so
Okay.
we both, after that, once she was healthy, we really trauma bonded and was like, listen, we both been through a lot, and we got this. We got this. I mean, this is very hard, but we both got this. And a quick note: her 2 years before I met her dad had committed suicide, and she was going through a lot. You know, that was hard, but she was overcoming it by talking and by building businesses and by working hard and doing the right things. And so I'll say that didn't make the ectopic easy, but we both had massive trauma in our life and had overcome massive trauma in our life. And without that, I think our marriage would have just potentially just, ruptured.
Yeah. Wow. Well, uh, side question here. How did you actually first meet? You mentioned you were the landlord, or you helped her to get a space, but the first time that you ever met, first time you met and you asked her out, or she asked you out. What was that like when you decided to try to go a different route than just landlord and tenant, and you actually asked her on a date, or vice versa? How did that end up playing out?
Oh man, I know we don't have enough time for everything, but the girl I was dating at the time. I was working for her grandmother,
Okay.
and her grandmother
Okay.
owned these buildings, and my wife becomes a tenant, and I'm like, oh, I got to break up with the granddaughter because I'm not marrying her, and I'm gonna, when I break up with the granddaughter, I'm gonna lose my job. Luckily, I was in real estate school to get my real estate license at the same time, and it was just a whirlwind. Um, I break up with the girlfriend, the grandmother fires me, I become 100% full time real estate broker, and my wife is a tenant for my ex girlfriend's grandmother. Um, it was it was it
Wow.
was it was uncomfortable. It was bonkers. It was crazy. It was a crazy little time. But sorry, I'm totally off track. What was your question?
Yeah. Well, my question was around the first time that you asked Anna
Oh,
out. If it
asked
was
out.
you,
Sorry.
maybe she asked you out first. But what was that like?
I
Was that how easy or difficult was that for you to do?
Yep. So it was an easy one because my birthday was literally August 3rd, and she was like, "Listen, I'm going to take you somewhere for your birthday. And so she takes me to play putt-putt at Lake Norman Putt-Putt in Cornelius. And we had a great time. Then she takes me to the Dale Earnhardt statue in Kannapolis because she's from the Kannapolis area. And and then we ended up on the roof of a building in downtown Concord in the rain. And it was just amazing, just the most amazing date. So yeah, she asked me because it was for my birthday. I want to take you for your birthday, which turned into the most amazing date ever. And so yeah, it's not extremely flattering, I'd say, but she did say take me out first for my birthday. That wasn't a date yet; it was for my birthday. And so to be frank, we didn't have a true blue date in air quotes from her until we went to Myrtle Beach and went to a very nice restaurant all dressed up. And then I took her on the beach and asked her to marry me. And so she says our first date was the night asked her to marry me.
Oh, I was gonna say, what's her interpretation? There it is. Wow.
That's her.
Man, this is like a storybook romance, dream come true, fairy tale. I don't want to say fairy tale ending because there's work to do. There's purpose yet to be done. But
Yes.
man, it's a fairy tale start. It's a fairy tale restart.
Thank you.
That's
We're
amazing,
very
man.
proud of our journey, and she's fantastic wife and mom and business partner. But no, that was a crazy, start to anything. But dude, it made us tough as nails, man. We've been through adversity. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. Ectopic. She had a miscarriage between our boy and our second youngest girl. We've had businesses ups and downs, man. We've been at the top of a mountain. We've been at the bottom of a valley, financially and, professionally. I mean, man, it's been amazing ups and downs. But because of the adversity we faced so early, I feel like we're better, really, really well equipped for anything that life throws at us.
Okay, so pause right there, and any listener, re-listen to what Clifford just said. Because of the adversity, he's prepared. They are prepared for what's coming because of the adversity, not because of the adversity. I can't do anything and I'm afraid of everything. They have somehow figured out a way to turn the adversity into something that they're prepared. So, can you talk for a minute about? And you may have already shared the answer, Clifford, but can you just kind of riff on this for a minute? The adversities and challenges in your life have prepared you for what's coming, not have weighed you down. Can you talk on that for a minute? Just see what comes out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it is perspective. Okay. And I will say that we have done a really good job of getting off of a lot of personal social media, because it really made our perspective that to be happy, you need the nice cars and the nice homes and the big trips, and you need the perfect, body, and you need the perfect suit and all this stuff. And just realize that that is not actually true happiness and truly, what's needed in life. And so, I would say that the, getting down to the core of what makes you happy, um, and what's important in life, and simplifying things to a way that, you appreciate your wife and appreciate your kids. I think that's really been a big part of it.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more, my friend. That perspective. What's the lens, dear listener? What's the lens by which you approach everything, anything and everything? What's that lens? And if the lens is one that there's complaint or worry or anxiety or something that comes out, then how might you own that lens? You look at Clifford, he owned it. He owned it at 18 to 20. He got some good advice from a trusted friend. And thank goodness for the friend and Clifford's courage to take that advice and to go through the therapy and to do the work on himself. And then everything that's then since come from that. Can you talk about, before we go to wrap up, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your businesses so people can
Yeah.
know what you do. So talk a little bit about your business. What are some of the things you do nowadays? What's your passion? Please.
Yeah, my wife and I, we own a commercial real estate brokerage firm that has been around since 2016 called Blank Real Estate. And 4 years ago, we partnered with EXP Commercial to have more of a national presence. So we can do deals in 40 some states across the country, where before we really just focused on North and South Carolina. Um, so we have Blank Real Estate brokered by EXP Commercial. We also buy real estate for investment. We've bought industrial buildings over the years, office buildings, Airbnbs, and added value somehow, new roofs or renovations, etc., and got the net operating income up. And then we usually tend to sell them to people with a lot more money than us. So that's always a flowing business model or business we work on. We also have bought several pieces of land over the years and rezoned, entitled, et cetera, with partners, and then sold them to large multifamily and industrial developers. And then in the last year and a half, we started a venture of a tech company that focuses on employee experience and internal communication for corporations or groups. So we're actually building the application right now for Apple and Android. And I've always wanted to be in the tech world, and so is my wife. So this is our step into the tech world. It's called Biz Exchange, also known as BEX, BEX. So we're big in commercial real estate, and then we're learning about the tech world. We're learning about a lot of things that we've never dived into. And I'll just say this, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but from 2016 to 2022, we had just reached so many milestones in commercial real estate, with brokerage, with development, with ownership. I'm an SIOR, which is the biggest, like the largest designation you can get as a commercial broker in the world. Um, and we've won all these awards, and the top, under 30 this, and the top broker for this, and the top business owner for this. And in 2022, we said, you know what, this is engaging. We love it, but I think we need to do something that really challenges us. Something that we can wake up excited to learn about every day, that we don't know a lot about, and could be a real legacy builder for our family, just like commercial real estate is. And so decided to get into the tech world, and it's done exactly that. We've learned a lot, very passionate, lots of podcasts, lots of videos, lots of reading, lots of seeking mentorship, lots of reaching out to people about the tech world, and been super engaging for the past 18 months, and have learned so much, and just wake up every day excited to learn something new. So we are still in commercial real estate heavy, but I like to say right now I've got two full-time jobs. And one is to keep doing deals in commercial real estate and keeping that going. And then it's to learn this new industry that, my wife and I have never been in, and just try to understand the best approach and how to build something great there that people want to use. So yeah, professionally, that's really what we're up to. And over the years, we've built a few businesses and sold them, mostly centered around real estate and commercial real estate and residential real estate. Um, but yeah, that's kind of professionally what we're up to. My wife, after a couple of years of marriage, did close the boutique and went online only, and did great with that. And then like I said, recently, this year, she said she wanted to do the coffee food truck. And so we're turning that enclosed trailer into a food truck ourselves. And so it's a fun experience, but it's going to take a long time. But yeah, business wise, that's really everything we have had and we have going on.
Yeah, I'm curious about the coffee potential endeavor here. Is there anything you're doing to involve your children in this business or in any of your businesses? How are they learning or getting involved, if they are?
Yeah. So my three oldest daughters, they're 8, 7, and 5. They have a store on Etsy, and they make bracelets. And so it's their own store. It's called My Magic Bracelets on Etsy. And they make them. They get orders every other day, every third day, and they make them, and then we go with them to mail them off. And they make about a $5 profit per bracelet. Um, and they've sold a good
Nice.
amount, and I'm really proud of them for that. Um, my boy Merrick, he's right in the middle. He's 6. He wants to start something soon, but he's just started school, and he's very active, like sports wise and stuff. So like he wants to start a business, but he keeps saying he wants to sell Legos for a business. And I'm like, all right, we got to get a little more creative than that. Reselling Legos might be a uphill battle. So let's figure something else out. And then my youngest, she turns 3 next month. But yeah, the coffee business, the girls, and Merrick, they like, we'll all go together as a family to every single, event that, pop up or whatever. And yes, they're going to be involved, and they want to be involved. So yes, that really is going to be a family affair.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a real treat to hear a story from a man who has endured, overcome, and you can just see, if you're watching on YouTube, you can just see it and feel it in his eyes. We're as authentic as it gets right now. And Clifford, we love you for being able to share your heart with us today and share some business and family wisdom and some funny stories too, mixed in with the serious. How do we find out more about you? Can you point us to a website, or is there still a social media place we might find you and your business? Just how do we find you?
Yeah. The best place to find me is to connect on LinkedIn. I'm not on Facebook anymore or Instagram, and let me verify or go in a little further. I still have the accounts, but I put them. You can put accounts on like a pause, where you don't see them and no one can see your profile, etc. I've done that because I really want to take a break from personal social media and focus on our businesses and our family and everything. But if you go to LinkedIn and just type in my name, hopefully I'll come up. And LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. Also want to mention that my youngest daughter has had a tough time with her health in the past 18 months. She does now have cerebral palsy from a stroke that she had. But I will say that, and so we have a GoFundMe page for her, and we've had a couple of events, fundraisers for her, and they've been really amazing. So you'll see that on my LinkedIn. If you just click on my post, you'll see about Emmy, my little 2-year-old about to be 3. And just I would ask for prayers and thoughts from people with little Emmy. But she's in therapy at Duke every week, and she has casting on and braces, and she's doing fantastic for what she's been through. And she is going to live a very high quality of life with cerebral palsy because of the therapy and the bracing, etc. So I didn't want anyone to go on there and be like, man, he didn't mention his daughter. But anyway, there's a lot going on, but she's doing fantastic. We're through the weeds. The last year or so, there were a lot of weeds trying to figure out the medical world, and she's doing really, really, really well now. And so, anyway, LinkedIn is the best. Just connect on there, and we love to send me a message. I read every message. I know we get a lot of spam on there, as you know, but we read every message. I read every message. So if someone message me, I'd love to respond.
Awesome. Well, Clifford, we're down to the lightning round now, my friend, to wrap things up today. And first question, lightning round. If you're a reader, is there a book or two that you might recommend that's had an impact on you?
Ooh, um, yeah, I've got 2. Um, I've got like a motivational one and then like a tech one. The tech one is rocket fuel, and it is motivational, but it is very techy. And then on the self motivate side, I like really short books and kind of rah and to the point. So I really like The Millionaire Mindset by Grant Cardone because it's a quick read, and I don't know why, but he pumps me up.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read that one. I've read the 10x rule. I love that one, but I haven't read this one yet. So thank
Me
you
too.
for that.
Yep.
Yes. So let's go to music then. Is there an artist or a song or a genre of music that really just lights you on fire, fills your soul? Just anything around music for you?
Yeah, I love upbeat, fast country music. So Morgan Wallen is a great example. I love kind of more fast and exciting, country music. Also love some Post Malone. So really music that is kind of pumped up and exciting. I do also love, there's a lot of Christian rappers, that I love. And there's one song in particular called It Could Be Worse. And his name escapes me, but that's a Christian rap song that I think everyone should listen to, talking about how life can always be worse, but man, you're blessed, because of, this and this and this. So yeah, I'd say it might be Minio. But anyway, It could be worse. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Music that pumps me up is where I'm at.
Awesome. And then the last question, Clifford, I'll ask it, and then you have the last word. The last question. You are on the Eternal Optimist podcast. What might Eternal Optimist mean to you?
Yeah, I think eternal means forever. Optimist means looking at everything in a positive way. I see that as maybe, not every second of your life and forever and a day you're positive every minute of the day, but making sure that no matter how difficult the situation is that you do find the silver lining, in the cloud, or the light at the end of the tunnel. Because no matter how bad you think it is, there is truly always a silver lining. And if you give a little bit of time, typically in my life, God has revealed, what that was or why, but it could have been years later. So to me, it just means always make sure, no matter how tough it is or how good it is, that you are finding the positivity in it.